Atop the Spiraling Tower. Written by Ohadidik. Read by Arashi. It was not a life most desirable to most, being bound to the top of a long tower. A princess stood dormant at the very top of it, and going down was just asking to get into trouble. For days at a time, she would hope that someone would come save her. She would frequently imagine a knight in shining armor to come to the very top, conquering all the foes that stood watch, and sweep her off her feet, and finally reward them with her love. She had plenty of love to give, but no one to ever hand it off to. She would write down her thoughts of who would come save her, and all the love she had, but she never knew who it would be, or if she would ever be saved. The princess would always keep watch from her window, just on the off chance that someone may come for her someday. After a whole day would pass, she would sigh, and turn to another night of sleep, her long red hair flowing with the wind. It would all change on one fateful day. She would continue her daily activities of keeping watch, and by surprise, someone was arriving. It was exactly as she imagined, a knight in shining armor, with a light blue tinge applied. She was amazed that someone had finally found out, and she couldn't wait for them to finally save her. The princess waved down the passing knight, who stopped in front and called out above, "No need to worry, my fair maiden. I'm here to rescue you from your forced residence. I'll be up there shortly." The knight made a gesture as they spoke, putting their hand above their eyes, looking like they were trying to look towards the sun. They hopped off their steed and began to rush inside. The princess was enthralled, and all the more excited. She hurriedly put all her questionable writings away, and attempted to pretty herself up before anything. She cleared herself up, and proceeded to sit on her bed and wait for her savior. She heard the sounds of combat and fighting up the spiral staircase, and just waited until someone would break down the door to finally come save her. Eventually, the fight stopped, and the princess heard the door open. She heard the sound of armor step through the room, and she saw her knight. They were all beaten and their armor was dented, but they appeared to be okay. She couldn't see their face, however, which she didn't mind. She'd be able to take it off herself and finally see who it is. The only thing she could make out was the knight's short hair poking out. "You finally come for me. You have my utmost gratitude," the princess said softly. The knight stood silent. "Seems like you're one of the quiet ones. That's perfectly fine," she said, a bit flirtatiously. The princess began to get a hold of the knight's helmet, and she was about to remove it before she heard someone call from the corner of her room. She couldn't make out who it was, but she just had to find out who it was. "Excuse me for a second, if I may," she said, taking her hands off and looking around her room. She still couldn't exactly make out what they were saying, until she realized it was coming from outside the room. She peered out the door and heard someone say, "K." What were they saying? It sounded like a name. She began to go down the stairs, leaving the knight in her room, as the voice grew louder. "K, Iko." It was getting louder. No, it was getting angrier. Then she heard someone yell out, "Rico!" Rico then woke up at her desk. It was morning, and it was nothing but a dream. The voice was only her mother, trying to wake her up. "Come on! You have school soon. Your room is a mess, too. You have to clean that up later." Rico realized her situation. She fell asleep reading her short love stories, and had imagined herself in a similar situation. Her face became flushed as she figured it out. Rico frantically tried to put everything away in a hurry as her mom left the room. She hoped her mom didn't know what she was reading, but her mom absolutely knew. Rico collected her storybooks and seemed a bit down. "I didn't even get to the wall bang. That's my favorite part," she said under her breath. She sighed and continued to collect her materials and put them away before getting ready. It didn't help that today was Valentine's Day, something she never really looked forward to. Rico would be nice and give others gifts as a friendly gesture, but it never meant much to them, even if she meant it more than a friend. Those stories she would read always appealed to her. She always imagined them happening to her, but they never did happen. Rico just never had that person. Her knight, her loved one. She finished cleaning, got dressed, collected her gifts, and left for the bus stop. Rico pondered to herself if it would be different this time. Maybe some of her classmates thought to do something for her today. Or maybe it'd be the same as always. The bus arrived, and she got on. To her surprise, she saw one of her friends in the very back of the bus. Another girl with short hair and a friendly demeanor. She noticed Rico get on and greeted her with one of her signature gestures. Rico came over and sat down with a smile. She never expected her on the same bus that Rico took. "Hey there, Yo-chan. I didn't expect you to be on this specific bus. I thought you took a different one." Yo rubbed the back of her head and giggled. "I got up too early and fell asleep on the first bus, so I ended up going too far and I had to correct it." Rico was surprised. "You did? That sounds scary, especially if you fell asleep. You should be careful that doesn't happen again, Yo-chan." "It was fine. Nobody was on, but I was alone for a bit. I didn't mind it," Yo reassured her. "You know, this does work out, actually. I do want to give you something, Riko-chan." Yo spoke a bit quietly. Rico tilted her head in confusion. She didn't know what Yo was doing. Yo then pulled a small box of chocolates. It was wrapped neatly and tied with a small pink ribbon. "I wanted to give you this, Riko-chan. It is Valentine's Day, after all," Yo said meekly, looking away while handing it towards Rico. She looked surprised as she saw the small gift. This had never happened to Rico before, and she didn't know how to handle it. She was speechless. Yo finally looked towards Rico, her own face a bit red as she saw Rico's expression while she took it. "Yo-chan, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it from you," Rico said as she began to open it up. She saw that each piece was made in their own unique way, but looked high quality. "Did you make these yourself, Yo-chan?" Rico asked as she picked one up to inspect it. Yo looked away again. "Yeah, I did. I wanted to do something special this time around, and I thought you'd appreciate it." Rico popped the candy in her mouth and began to chew. It was excellent, very smooth and silky, and it was unlike any store-bought candy she had. "I haven't tried it, actually. I hope you think it's good," Yo spoke. "It's wonderful, Yo-chan. Do you want one? I don't mind sharing," Rico responded, chewing on her candy. Yo nodded and held out her hands as Rico pulled another piece. Instead of putting it in her palms, Rico brought it to Yo's mouth, attempting to feed her. Yo's face became redder as she opened her lips to let the candy in. "It's really well made, Yo-chan. You did a good job on it," Rico said as she dropped another piece into her mouth. Yo ate the candy. She knew it was as good as she wanted it to be. Rico boxed it up as she ate almost half the package. She got distracted as she still had a gift for Yo as well. "Those chocolates are so good, I almost forgot I had something myself for you," Rico said, making Yo perk up. She dug around her bag, passing around a few other boxes, and taking out another small box that was wrapped just as neatly as Yo's gift, only with a blue ribbon instead. Yo saw the gift and immediately came to hug Rico. She was surprised by the sudden warmth from Yo. I didn't expect that from you, Yo-chan," Rico said, a bit uncertain. Yo's face was a bit teary-eyed. She never got a gift from someone she gifted to. "Thank you so much, Rico-chan," Yo said quietly. She broke from Rico and took her gift and began to open it as well. Rico stared at her, revealing the candy. It wasn't as well made or as quality like Yo's, but it was all the more special coming from Rico. Rico looked a bit shy. "I did my best with them. I wasn't too sure what you liked, so I did a variety. There's some mikan-flavored, some other fruit, some only chocolate. I hope you like them." Yo-chan. Yo took a piece that had a bit of pink candy and savored the taste of Rico's handmade chocolate. It tasted delicious as Yo savored the flavor. Your candy is really good, Rico-chan. I appreciate it coming from you, Yo said, pleased. Rico was a bit curious why Yo acted the way she did when getting a gift herself, as she seemed like a popular girl. She didn't mind. Yo really seemed to appreciate Rico in some way now, which was always nice. Yo boxed her gift and stowed it away. She yawned as her arms stretched outwards. Hey, Rico-chan, I'm still a bit tired, so I'm going to nap for a bit. Wake me up when we get there? Yo questioned. That's fine, Yo-chan. You should rest up, Rico reassured her. Yo smiled as she laid back and promptly got knocked out. The sugar from the chocolate didn't even help her energy somehow. Rico looked over at Yo. She had such a cute face while asleep, almost like a baby's. She sat back and waited for their stop. As the bus hit a bump, making Yo knock towards Rico, it didn't wake her up, but now her head was laying on Rico's shoulder. She didn't mind, and while she tried not to fall asleep, she couldn't help but rest her head on Yo's. They were comfortable, as neither of them minded. Rico kept thinking as she began to drift off. Was this what she was looking for? Was Yo her own knight coming for her? Rico had never received a handmade gift from a friend, and with Yo's reaction, it seemed too odd. Rico didn't even want to give the rest of the gifts. She felt like her Valentine's Day was completed already. She didn't know what was happening, but she felt that warmth inside of her as she fell asleep herself, now cuddling with Yo.